In the US, around 40% of food goes to waste. In 2010, that amounted to $161 billion worth of wasted food.
Well, first of all, I think when it comes to food, that's where most people start to think, oh, it costs so much to be organic or so much to be sustainable. But the reality is, most of our food goes into the trash. So more than likely, we're overbuying it, this non-organic food, and eventually letting it perish and throw it away. And we feel comfortable with that because the price was low. Artificially, our prices are low because most of the food that we purchase is either commercially grown, so that means that they have lots of pesticides and other elements on them. They're not actually allowed to mature on the vine, so to speak, or they're bombarded with chemicals during their production if they're animals, so they're artificially fattened. In neither case, with all those artificial components, are they good for human health. If anyone has gone out of the United States and eaten food in another country, they know exactly what it feels like to eat something that's more organic. In the United States, we have a lot of digestive problems, which again, just in the same way as cancer has been normalized, has also been normalized. We don't think about it. We assume that it's just normal to have these gastric issues. But a lot of it has to do with our food. So going back to the idea that organic eating is so much more expensive, perhaps we were over-purchasing. Maybe it's better to buy a little less and eat good quality than eat as much as we do, have obesity issues, and also have poor quality because the amount that we're purchasing is also increasing the amount of toxicity in our systems because of the way it's actually grown or manufactured.
No matter what you eat, chances are you'll be producing some amount of food waste in your home. An easy way to prevent that waste from entering the landfill is to compost it.
The first thing I really got into was composting, and composting seemed very intimidating to me at first, but it's actually quite easier than you think because you can make a compost bin out of just about everything. So I actually bought a small counter-sized compost bin, and I printed out fact sheets on what can and can't go into a compost bin, and I also put it on my fridge so guests see it when they come over and they can compost their food accordingly. It's very cheap. I spent about $15 on a little counter-sized bin, and you don't even really need that. You can use just about any kind of plastic, not that you should use plastic, but any sort of bin on your counter, and we just use a garbage bin outside to put all of our scraps from the counter out there. That was perhaps the easiest and very powerful environmental habit that we started to get into. And as a result, we produce less trash, which is wonderful, so we don't have to go to the dump as much. And we can turn it into soil for when we start a garden, so that's great.
If you live somewhere without a yard, you can actually compost indoors. And in some areas, you can bring your compost to a local farm or farmer's market. Even better, some towns offer commercial composting, or you can hire a commercial composting company to pick up your compost. But even if you're able to compost your food waste, much of the food we purchase comes packaged in materials that will soon end up in the landfill. Even the recyclable items may never be recycled, especially considering China's recent restrictions on imports of paper and plastic recyclables.
I have noticed that I can never be a zero waste household because of where I live, and our inability to access stores that provide food without wrappings and without containers. On Cape Cod, there are a few organic stores that will provide, you know, peanuts or rice or cereal that you can just bring your own jar and fill it up. But there is not one store on Cape Cod that will provide everything you need in bulk so that you can just bring your containers and get it and go home. So it is very aggravating because I still am bringing home trash and I can't quite get around it. But what I've done a few things. I've stopped buying snacks, and I will make my own snacks such as banana breads or granola bars. That will cut down on a little bit of trash. And I try to buy things in a bigger package, such as flour or sugar or things like that. What it boils down to is figuring out what you need in a week for food, not overbuying, only buying what you need and trying to make it last is the way I'm trying to work with the barrier that I have right now.
The Orleans Whole Food Store is one of the few on Cape Cod that offers unpackaged bulk goods. I met Bridget there in February of 2020.
Right now we are at Orleans Whole Foods store to do a little bit of bulk food shopping today. So you can see how I shop package-free and as zero waste as possible. They sell a lot of food in bulk, so you can get dried goods such as beans, oats, granola, and I bought from a couple of companies online. I bought these bulk food bags, which are fantastic because they have the tare weight already on there. So when you go to the checkout employee can actually take off the weight of the bag, and you're not spending the money on the weight of the bag, basically. This has really, really helped with a ton of waste reduction. And I can't say enough about these. But again, if you don't have the money to be spending on these kind of extra things, use what you already have. Use that stuff. Use what you already have first before going out and spending more money and having all this shipping materials sent to your house. That helped me a lot. Okay, so right now I'm gonna buy some sea salt in bulk, so I don't have to buy it in any kind of packaging at all. So this is what I like to do as much as I possibly can when I buy dry food. So what I like to do with this too is just take as much as I possibly need. I think sometimes you can go a little overboard at the beginning. You just start filling your whole bag up. But just take as much as you possibly need. That's one great thing about bulk food shopping is you don't have to buy a whole huge bag, which could end up being wasted in the long run. But this at least, just get what exactly you need the food for. So that should be about it. So now all I have to do is just go to the checkout line and pay for my items.
If a bulk food store isn't convenient for you, there are other steps you can take when food shopping, like buying more produce than packaged food and choosing packaged food that comes in more recyclable containers, like glass and aluminum.
Try when you go grocery shopping to look at what's packaged in plastic and what is not. And if you can switch, I know so many of us have already switched over to our reusable bags, our grocery bags. But think about when you're in the produce section, do you put your fruit and vegetables in plastic? So, I was a crazy lady for a little while. I would put everything in one bag and then take it out, and then the cashier was like, wow, you're giving me so much more extra work to do. And to me, it's worth it. I understand for other people it's a stretch. But now there's reusable produce bags. You can buy them made out of polyester, which do keep the veggies a little fresher. But there's also organic cotton and muslin and all different types of stuff. So that's what's really exciting to me is people are innovating and looking at their daily use of plastic and trying to come up with alternatives.
And when it comes to our food's carbon footprint, purchasing from local farmers creates way fewer emissions than traditional grocery stores where the food is transported from all over the continent. But probably the most impactful thing you can do is to reduce or eliminate your consumption of meat and dairy.
We eat food that is life. We take life to maintain our life. So even if you're not thinking about it from an organic perspective, food waste should be something that morally you find reprehensible, because what you're really doing is equating that life that was taken to the price that you paid for it, which has nothing to do with its intrinsic value. Every living creature wants to live. So when you take that life, there are two things that you should take into consideration: not to waste it and eat it. The other thing is based on the fact that you've taken the ability for this creature, whether it be a plant or animal, to continue its life. Do something good with the life that you've been able to continue to live as a result of the life that you've taken to live it. So that's another portion of sustainability that's really important, and it's just a simple connecting of the dots. Because when we start to think about how much food waste we have in this country, it's really abominable that people go hungry at all.